Hey everyone, in this short video I'm going to talk about damage to drywall. And a lot of times when you see damage to drywall, it's on a ceiling. It might be a little stain or some paint that's bubbled or paint that's come loose or tape that's suddenly got a crack in it. These issues are 99% of the time created because of some sort of water leak, some sort of moisture. It could be a busted pipe, a leaky roof, some condensation getting into that space. Could be a number of things. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you even start this repair is determine what is causing this moisture to get into the drywall or the plaster and create this damage. So now I'm going to show you a number of issues that I've seen over the past few months, and then the conclusion of this video will be me actually investigating and correcting a moisture problem that was basically condensation. I'm at a job site today where I'm doing some repairs. Right here, there was a leak or something upstairs. Somehow water leaked down, loosened the tape on the seam, loosened the inside corner. All this paint even peeled off. That's actually pretty easy to fix. I can take care of all that. My biggest concern is, I'm not sure if you can really see it that clearly, but there's a stain right along this seam. Of course, right here it's cracked. I'm going to remove that piece of tape. So sealing these stains up is going to be somewhat the tricky part. I've got kind of a nasty little repair to do here today. If you look up in here, you can see there's some plumbing. It was a plumbing leak that had probably been kind of a slow leak. They did a rough job cutting out the piece of drywall, and now I'm here to patch it up. It's just half-inch drywall. I'm going to square it up and put a little furring for backing and make this look really good really quickly. I've got an interesting repair today. This is an old plaster ceiling, and the roof or something has leaked, but it's water damage. The homeowners already tried to do a little work on it, and anyways, they're having me come in. What my plan is, I'm going to scrape off all the loose material, and what typically happens is the base coat, which you can see right through this little hole right here, is usually still solid. So all I'm going to scrape off is the finish coat. At least that's what I plan on doing. I'm hoping what happens. And then I'm going to apply a bonding agent, a plaster bonding agent, over the base coat before I apply a setting compound. Probably put a good heavy coat of setting compound, which is actually quite similar to the finish coat plaster in that it sets up chemically. And after that, probably 2 coats of regular joint compound. That should take care of it. So let's see how this goes. On this job, I'm doing some repairs on this little off angle here. It's Cape style house. It's pretty prone to cracking because of structural movement. Kind of an old-fashioned type of tape though. Paper tape with these little metal edges. Very common when this house was built. I'm also thinking that maybe there's a little bit of moisture here also, because I see a little bit of rust and maybe a little bit of mold on the back of this tape. So I'm thinking a combination of structural movement and maybe a little condensation going on here. Right here I've got loose plaster. This is your base coat plaster right here, and what's coming off is not just paint, it's the paint and the actual veneer finish coat plaster. Usually when something like this happens, it's because of moisture, and it is right next to this window, so that's probably what it was. Good news is it does feel and look nice and dry. Here I am working in a garage, and all the tape is cracked at every seam and it's peeling right off. I think it was just embedded in joint compound. In other words, only 1 coat of tape was put on with no finish coats over the top of it. So we have an unheated garage And above this ceiling, there is no insulation. Unheated garage, uninsulated attic, temperature, humidity varies quite a bit in this type of environment. So that's why the tape is cracked. What we're going to do here is retape the entire garage and insulate the attic. I think if we just were to retape this garage, more than likely it would crack again. Hey Scott, I've got a really great topic for your followers at Everyday Home Repairs. I run into this quite a bit, and it may seem a little complicated, so I'm really not going to get into how to fix it so much as how to analyze the problem. As a homeowner, you quite often run into this. And what we have here is a little bit of damage up there in the ceiling. The tape has come loose, it's kind of bubbled, and the homeowner doesn't really know what's going on. They're thinking, well, the tape has come loose. And why did that happen? Maybe the roof is leaking. And they're kind of onto something, because typically any stain or any loose tape or loose paint that occurs on a ceiling is from water. You've got some sort of a leak. I bet you 99% of the time when there's damage to a ceiling, it's because of water, of moisture of some kind. And in this particular case, I've already done a little bit of investigating. I don't believe it's the roof leaking, because this is kind of in the center of this house, and there's no drain pipe or vent pipe going through here, so I'm not thinking that. But I did bring a little moisture meter just to see if we do have moisture in this area. It does read about 11%. So there is a higher moisture content up there, but it's not like there's water just running down there, which leads me to believe it's condensation. What I'm thinking is happening here is we have a cold air return down here. So, and I believe there's a crawl space underneath here, which could be a little bit damp. And this is also a cold air return. So it's constantly drawing air from the room into this ductwork. And if I put my fingers right underneath here, I can feel a gap. So as air is being drawn into here, air is also very likely to go right up this wall cavity and right up into the top plate of this wall, which there's most likely a gap where the drywall butts into the wall. So I'm going to go up in the attic later and check that. If I do see a gap, I'm going to air seal it. So this is what makes it so interesting about this is we do think it's moisture. It's not a leak. It's condensation, which means today it's only 20 degrees outside. It's 70 inside this house. We got this warm, moist air that's trying to escape. So it's going up this, taking this pathway, and when it hits that cold air, it reaches its dew point. And that's when we get this condensation. Just a little bit at a time, over time, is what creates this problem. What really has helped me to believe that I'm correct on my analysis of this, we have the little loose paper on this side, and if you come around directly across from it, we have the same thing on this side. So I'm pretty sure it's an air leak with condensation. Naturally, we want to fix these damaged areas, but we cannot fix them until we've corrected the airflow, or should say eliminated the airflow, which is causing the condensation. So we're going to fix that before we fix our damaged drywall. I exposed the top plate of that wall, and we've found out exactly where the problem is directly underneath this rafter. Right where this drywall, you can see the drywall on the ceiling here, where it's nailed up into this rafter, that's where we have the problem with the drywall, and created by condensation. And if I look closely, I don't see much of a gap right along where the drywall is, but I am going to foam that. But what I do have right in this exact area is this hole where these wires are coming through. So that's probably how the air is getting in here. And keep in mind, when there's insulation on here, that kind of encapsulates to a certain degree the warm air, and that's where it's condensating. And it's condensating where that nail is actually fastening the drywall to the rafter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to foam this hole, and I'm going to foam along this whole edge, along this entire wall. So now I've pretty much eliminated any warm air from coming up through there. The other problem area, potential, is right along this edge where the drywall sits on the plate. So I'm just going to put a nice bead right along there, go underneath this rafter, and right along this edge as well. Now, if I look over this way in this other bay, I have a similar situation. And that's what I'm going to do for the entire length of this top plate. I'm going to seal right along where the drywall meets that top plate, and any other penetrations I see in there, and let that set up and put the insulation back in place. I hope you found this helpful and helped you to better understand that a lot of times the damage is created by moisture. Of course, that has to be corrected before you start any of the work. And it can get a little bit complicated, like a plumbing leak. You need to cut a hole and fix the plumbing. The roof may need to be repaired. You may have to crawl up in the attic and do some air sealing and things like that. If you want to find out a little bit more, or actually see me complete these repairs, check out some of my other videos. Thank you.